morning, everyone, and on behalf of the Town of Darien Monuments and Ceremonies Commission, thank you all for taking your time away from everything else to be with us here today. We did give a handout to several people just talking about how this monument came to be. The sense of volunteerism. Josh Doying, who was a freshman at Darien High School on 9/11, was responsible for this monument's existence. He made it his Eagle Scout project, and he was the one who came up with the idea, made the proposal, got the funding, and organized other scouts and the Department of Public Works to help build this memorial. And one of the aspects that Josh wanted, he chose this shaped stone on purpose to emulate the tri-corner hat that we associate with patriots from the American Revolution. So that is how this monument came to be. Josh Doying, Eagle Scout. At this point now, I would like to introduce our town's first selectman, Monica McNally, to please come up and talk to us. Monica.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank everyone for coming out to join us in remembrance of the events of September 11th of 2001. 21 years ago today, the world stopped. 6 Darien families learned tragically that the names of their loved ones would join the list of 2,763 people who died when the Twin Towers fell in New York City. In all, citizens from 78 countries perished in New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania that awful morning, and still more have passed sadly from 9/11 related illnesses. It's easy to remain fearful and bitter following these events. Even after 21 years, the memories are still fresh and still raw in our minds. Like anyone who lived through Pearl Harbor or the JFK assassination, we can all remember exactly where we were and what we were doing, and exactly at that moment, and in some cases, when we saw those planes crashing into the World Trade Center. But while the world still consists of people with bad intentions, we should always remember that they are vastly outnumbered by those with good intentions. I think of the decent and welcoming folks in Gander in the Canadian province of Newfoundland, who took passengers into their homes from the 38 international flights that were forced to land there unexpectedly. I think of the Wall Street bystanders who rushed into the towers to help those frightened victims trying to escape, never to leave themselves. And I think of the good residents in Darien, Illinois, who every year remember the citizens of Darien, Connecticut in their 9/11 services. Of course, the key to getting through those tough times was our first responders. Selfless to the end, these brave men and women sacrificed all to protect those in danger. The numbers tell the story. In total, 343 firemen and 60 police officers died in New York City that day. That's truly a staggering number by any measure. We are joined here today by many who provide protective services in Darien, some of who were waiting at our train stations in town to help those who were returning home or those who are waiting their loved ones. So I would like to take a moment right now today to thank our first responders for all they did on 9/11 and continue to do for us today. In closing, I offer my sympathy to anyone who still struggles from loss from that day. For those whose memories are less painful, I would ask you to reach out to friends and acquaintances who suffered a lost one and just be there for them. In our divided nation, it's these acts of kindness that can help rekindle a sense of purpose a sense of unity, and a sense of country. May God bless those precious souls who perished on 9/11 and those who still grieve for them. And may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. She brought up something just now about Darien, Illinois, and TV 79 some time ago, last year, posted the Darien, Illinois 9/11 service that they dedicated to Darien, Connecticut. So if you go to YouTube, you can probably still find it. So thank you, TV 79, for that. At this point, I would like to, again, thank everyone for coming. And when we look back 21 years ago, it may seem a long time to some. For those who lost an acquaintance, that's what it may be. It may be a tragic event from a time long ago. For those who lost a friend or a distant relative, time moves a little slower. Their grief may have dissipated, but there still is a residual sense of loss that they carry with them. For those who lost a close family member, time crawls along. Those whose wife, husband, child, parent, or sibling who never came home, their grief endures. And for those among us who have family members who are suffering the ill effects of a malignancy contracted on 9/11, time is standing still. And sadly, more people have died from 9/11 than died on 9/11, and they continue to die. So 9/11 is more than 21 years ago. It's still occurring today. But along with the losses that we all suffered, think about what we found. We found heroes, people who did not know they were going to be heroes. As Monica pointed out, 412 firefighters, police officers, and EMS technicians who ran into harm's way to help and save others perished that day. Countless anonymous heroes, the Wall Street people, the other people from the World Trade Center, people who were just passing by, who went in to help people and saved, again, countless thousands. The passengers on United Airlines Flight 93 who prevented that airplane from crashing into our nation's capital. Could you imagine what 9/11 would have looked like with our Capitol dome destroyed and goodness knows how many other thousands of deaths? All of these heroes, the day before 9/11, nobody would have recognized them. They looked just like you, just like the person standing next to you. They were not famous. Their pictures were not in the newspaper. They were just average, normal Americans going about their day, going to work, paying their taxes, and raising their kids. The only difference between them and us was the circumstance that confronted them. They were confronted by a horrible situation and they responded. And their response was not something they learned out of a school book or out of a how-to-be-a-hero manual. It came straight from their heart. They just knew what had to be done, and they did it. And so when we think about what we gained on 9/11, the appreciation of those who answer the call that nobody else hears. So if someone can tell me what time it is, so I hit 8:46, right?
8:39.
8:39. Okay, I would ask at this point for those who have the roses to come place the roses on the memorial stone.
And flags.
Flags later. So everybody, as Monica said, remembers precisely where they were on 9/11. But think about where you were 9/12, 9/17, 9/21. Do you remember how united America was? Do you remember how kind everyone was? Think about that. That's much easier to forget than the pain. And what's happened to that unity? It's very easy to blame another for a lack of unity. But unity requires a joint effort. It cannot be accomplished alone. The internet is filled with stories that play very loosely with the facts. Some of these stories we believe. Some of them we repeat. And they come frequently at the expense of truth. This has caused so many people to lose faith in our democratic system of government, in our elected leaders. In fact, in the whole concept of what America means. So when we observe our minute of silence, which we do to mourn those who we lost, and to mourn and grieve with those who remain, let us also say a prayer for America's future. Are we on 8:46 yet? 8:44. Well, our minute of silence begins at 8:46, which is the precise moment the first plane crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. But given the state of affairs, I would like us to observe 2 minutes of silence today. I don't think it's a lot to ask of us. So having said that,
'53.
I would now ask those who have American flags to come and plant them alongside the memorial. Give it a good push. So before we close with the Pledge of Allegiance, coming back to that theme of unity, I would ask all of those to remember those on the other side of the aisle are not the enemy. There's a difference of opinion that will always exist, but so long as we're all working for the common good, we need one another's help. So when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd ask everybody to especially remember the word indivisible. As the scouts say, signs up. So just think for a minute the amount of effort it took for 2 casualties. And on 9/11, there were thousands of casualties. Makes one appreciate all the more what those EMS technicians were doing on 9/11. So Other people have to, I would normally like to wait until the diesel noise stopped, but other people have to be at 9/11 services, other places. So without further ado, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance to close now. And again, I remind everybody, hit that word indivisible hard. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as I mentioned, the only difference between the heroes of 9/11 and us was circumstance. The challenges today are not so obvious, but they're real. Now it's our opportunity to be heroes. And remember, heroes are never drafted. They volunteer. Thank you all for coming today, and with that, our ceremony is closed.